What's going on, YouTube? We're back here with another video today. In today's video we're going to be installing the Trick intercooler and the Supercharger and a couple other things on the truck. Finally get all that together. We'll show you what's going on with the Trick intercooler, how it comes and what you got to do. So it does come with this little adapter plate and whatnot, but we'll go over all that stuff and we'll try to get this thing a little bit more back together. But before we do, make sure you go down here and take a second and click that thumbs up. Really helps out the video, guys. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more. Leave a comment letting us know what you think of everything. But let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright guys, so things we're going to need. The Trick intercooler comes with everything it needs as far as hardware, the adapter plate for the mid plate, all that stuff. We did pick up a brand new OEM gasket between the mid plate and intercooler. And then we're going to use RTV in between the adapter plate and the intercooler. And then we got some orange thread locker for all the bolts, because I really don't want, especially the ones that are going to be exposed to being sucked in by the motor, I don't want those coming out. And this stuff, I guess, is like in between red and blue. It's stronger than blue, but it still removes without heat. You can remove it with hand tools. So we're going to try this. Figured better be safe than sorry. It might be a little bit overkill, but my luck, I need it. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to start with, we got our gasket on the mid plate, and then you'll want to put this adapter on and line up all the holes and whatnot. Use a little bit of Loctite on the screws, tighten this down. I think there's a torque spec, I want to say it's like 54 inch-pounds. It's not very tight, so we're just going to go by hand, just kind of as tight as we can with this little Allen wrench. We don't have a whole lot of leverage, and that should be fine. And then same thing with the intercooler. You take the intercooler, flip it over on top of there, a little bit of RTV, and then it's got these lock washers and nuts, which we're also going to put a little bit of Loctite on those as well. Tighten it all down, just kind of go by hand, by feel, not very tight. And I guess the longest part is going to be letting the RTV set, because you're supposed to let it sit for like an hour before you tighten it all down to torque specs. So it's going to be a lot of putting RTV, hand tight, let it sit, torque it down. We are going to also use RTV for the blower, which I guess is kind of like a hot topic, because some people do, some people don't, some people think it's tacky, some people like it. So my mechanic and the people I know swear by it. So we are going to use the OEM metal gaskets with a thin layer of RTV on those, and I guess it's just what we're going to do. That's how it was done before, and I've never had any problems. That's how my mechanic always does it, so that's what I'm going to do as well. I know it works. I guess the only drawback and why people don't like doing it is because when you do have to take this back apart, the RTV will glue this sucker down, and it is hard to get off. I mean, it really glues it down to the truck, and it does not want to let it go. But I don't mind dealing with that. We found a way to get it off. No big deal to me. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and get to Loctiting these screws and screwing that down. A little bit of RTV. Put the intercooler on there. Screw that down. Let it set, and then get moving on this project.
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Alright, so that's all together, tightened down. We trimmed the extra RTV off of the edges, made it look nice and purdy, but that's ready to go. So all we gotta do is take the blue tape off. We are going to lay some RTV on this surface here, take the gasket, put it on there, and then lay some RTV on top of the gasket, flip it over and put it in the truck. And then we'll do the same thing with the blower gasket. We'll lay some RTV on top of the mid plate, put the gasket, lay the blower on top of that, smoosh it down a little bit, let it sit for an hour, and then tighten it down. I'll go over torque specs when it's all done, when it's in the truck and we're ready to torque it down. I'll go over that. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get moving on the next step. I apologize I can't show you me doing the step because it's hard to hold the camera and do it and focus and all that stuff. So pretty much just gonna cut to it being all done, explain what we did, and just so on and so forth until this thing's back together. So let's get to it. Alright, so it's all back together. Everything went pretty good. As far as torque specs for these bolts, you want to start with the first at 17 foot-pounds, and then you want to go up to 33 foot-pounds, and just start in the center and work your way out to the edges. Basically do the 2 center, then do the other 2 center, then work your way out. Torque those bolts back there first, because once you get the blower on, you won't be able to access them real well, so I suggest doing the intercooler ones first, the ones in the 4 in the back, and then attach the hoses as well, then put the blower on. We learned that the hard way because we didn't do that. We put everything together, tightened it by hand, let the RTV do its thing for like 30 minutes, and went ahead and snugged them up, and it was a real pain in the ass to get back there. We ended up doing it with a bunch of swivels, so those are not torqued properly because once you add a swivel it kind of messes up the torque reading, but we just tightened them up tight. These up here were torqued, everything's good to go. We are going to go ahead and stop our progress here for today because I have something I want to do, and it's going to be the next video, so stay tuned. Not going to tell you what it is, but the intake elbow ends up being in the way, so stay tuned to find out what that is. But yeah, everything looks really good. We cleaned it up real nice. That orange just looks fantastic. I mean, that thing is popping. I love it. But we cleaned up the engine bay while we could. Those heater hoses and intercooler hoses really do hide a lot. You notice the hard lines are deleted here, and it just frees up a lot of room. Those run way over there under the accumulator, down tucked up against the fender over there, and then they come up to the box and go to their respective locations. But that does free up a lot of space. I mean, it is like empty over here now. It's nice. So everything is pretty much hooked up. Only thing we have left to do is the throttle body, elbow, intake, and then we're pretty much ready to rock and roll. But that's not gonna be in today's video, so stay tuned to see what we got going on next for the truck. It's gonna be something really good, promise you guys. And then we're gonna be able to button this thing back up to put the bumper on, see the results of our progress on that, fire this puppy up and get her tuned and ready to eat. But we are getting closer. At least we got some progress, so really happy about it. Just a couple tips if you guys are pulling your blower and we're looking at this as kind of like a how-to kind of thing. I can tell you that nail polish works great. What you can do is put a piece of tape on each hose you take off, and then where it goes, and just mark it, color code it with some nail polish. That helps a lot. Label everything as you go. Like I said, Ziploc baggies are your friend. All the bolts in a Ziploc bag. Label the bags. Lay it out nice. Have all your tools laid out, ready to go. Helps out a lot, staying clean and organized. But basically, if you just label everything where it goes, it's really simple. It's pretty easy. Nothing to it really. Just some bolts and some gaskets, and you're good to go. But that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. Make sure you drop a fat thumbs up on it, like I said earlier. If you haven't already, click subscribe. Stay tuned to find out what we got going on next. It's gonna be good, and we'll see y'all next time.